Doctor, what do you see in this x-ray? Student, doctor, please don't do that in front of patients. Some alternative statements you could consider when your initial reaction is just exclamation point. I'm glad we took that x-ray. Well, this is almost certainly diagnostic. When one of my classmates broke my leg in 2nd grade, there was an entire fiasco and I nearly died, but I do remember the guy from radiology storming out to the little curtain area I was in and slapping the x-ray up on the backlight, and the doctor actually shouting, "Jesus! No wonder the kid doesn't have any damn blood!" People say folks with ADHD struggle with delayed rewards, aka long-term goals, and as such, we tend to focus more on short-term rewards. What they don't talk about is that when we do accomplish long-term goals, we don't actually feel anything proportionate to the amount of work we did to achieve it. In my head, I suffered for a while, and then money spontaneously appeared in my bank account. Don't you feel satisfied that your windows are so clean now? It sucked, and now I don't care. I just remember the sucking. I feel like we don't appreciate these days how much the Twin Towers sucked, like design-wise. They were contemporarily hated for just being these giant gray monoliths. Like, there probably could have been an easier way to get rid of them, but they probably need to go either way. OP, shut the frig up. Brutalism is friggin' awesome. They're not brutalist though, it was new formalist. They're made of concrete. It doesn't get more brutalist than that. Crying at this. The curb is brutalist. The sidewalk is brutalist. House made of concrete bricks is brutalist. Lamau? Brutalism is when there's concrete. The more conk they crete, the more brutalismer it is. Kids party going on next door to where I'm chilling for my break. A lot of good-natured screaming, typical of the age range. Seems to be 6 to 8. Minding my own business, but kids eventually spill over to where I am, and they're chatting about the cake and cookies and sweets. One kid rolls her eyes and says to me, "They're acting crazy because they had cake." I ask, "Is there cake left?" "Yeah." "I'll give you $1 if you steal me a slice of cake." Takes off like a friggin' rocket, and 60 seconds later, I have a slice of melting ice cream cake all to myself. Give her the $1 as promised. Another kid offers to bring me a cookie for $1. Okay, sure kid. Those two kids are going feral over a single dollar bill each. The children yearn for fetch quests. Everyone is always like, Jason kills people who have premarital coitus because the movies support conservative values. Or, Jason kills people who have premarital coitus because the movies are criticizing conservative values. Why is it never, why do people keep having coitus near the cursed lake with the undead guy? Or, how can we be so sure that he only targets couples having premarital coitus and not just coitus in general? What if it's just sampling bias? What if we're all looking at it the wrong way? What if it's not that Jason specifically targets people who have coitus, but rather that people nearby Jason can't help to have coitus because his presence makes them freaky, because of his pheromones? Settle a bet. Who wins in a fight? Kronk? Gaston. Kronk absolutely wins, but doesn't even realize they're fighting. Kronk thinks they're having a civil, if heated, argument and keeps narrowly avoiding Gaston's swinging fists, while opening doors and cupboards into Gaston's face. Eventually, Gaston steps on a rake that Kronk moved out of the way, gets knocked out, and tumbles down the hill. While Kronk stands back up from the oven with a, "Guess he made spinach puffs. Oh, where'd he go?" So true, bestie. No one gets their butt beat in a pole like Gaston. This is wrong. Yeah, she could have done this in her standard Sailor Moon form. Super form is overkill, really. Sailor Moon is stronger than Goku. I don't make the rules. Fight me about it. There was actually an old forum dedicated to anime mashup fights, and they were very strict about canon power level, etc. And it always made the dude bros friggin' vexed that Usagi could canonically kill everyone in Dragon Ball Z. What? I'm on a still active forum with a solid versus debate scene. Sailor Moon versus the God Emperor of Mankind from 40k is one of the most treasured threads there, as Sailor Moon trashed the guy. 19 pages straight of debate over Sailor Moon versus God Emperor of Mankind, in which every time a 40k fan desperately brings up a new point, it immediately gets negated by another one of Sailor Moon's powers. Struggles while writing. I suck, and writing is hard. Remember, some people use AI. I am a creative force. I am uncorrupted by theft and indolence. I am on a journey to excellence. It is my duty to keep taking joy in creating. Shout out to people for lowering the bar, I guess. Like, hell yeah, I wrote this crap email all by myself. I didn't think this was an accomplishment, but here we are. Whenever I feel bad about my ability to write, I remember that at least these are my actual thoughts and choices I made. Drawing too. I might be terrible, but at least I know how many fingers a human have. A beautiful man with long black hair, dressed in all white, sat next to me on the train back from Denmark. I complimented his outfit and he asked me where the train was going. After I told him, he then pointed at my shirt which says catastrophe and said, "Oh, I know a lot about those," and laughed uproariously. And then he asked me, "Do you know about Norse mythology?" And I said, yes, a bit because I read the Edda a decade ago. And he said, "I met Fenrir in Denmark." And I said, that's probably not good if Fenrir is walking around. And he said, "Oh, don't worry about it. Vidar will take care of it." And I replied, "Oh, but that's Ragnarok. That's still pretty bad for us mortals, is it not?" And he grinned at me like I said something incredibly funny. And then he ignored me for the rest of the train ride? Bro, you met friggin' Loki. I love being married to a straight guy. This morning, we were parallel chilling, and I glanced at his computer, and he's watching a drill fight tournament, as in, guys attaching drills to the same rod and turning them on until one breaks, to find the strongest drill. Jose noticed me staring and rolled out of the way so I could see the screen. He knew every drill brand and told me their quality and price. I watched the whole thing without comment. The violence was enchanting. I never would have found this. He's a vector to an entirely alien, often beautiful world. Me when I give the League of Legends show a chance because my friend says it's good, and I go in expecting an overrated wet fart. And I'm slowly forced to acknowledge that it has layered and interesting characters, incredible art direction and animation, deeply engaging political intrigue, and gripping drama. And I realize that despite any flaws it may have, it's ultimately one of the most mature and well-rounded pieces of animated television I've ever seen come out of the Western world. And I end the most recent episode sitting, leaned forward, staring at the TV, actively crying at 5 a.m. I'm so friggin' mad. Tell me a soft memory. My oldest brother is 10 years older than me. When I was in first grade, he took me shopping for new school clothes, which was huge because, as the youngest of 6 kids, I lived in hand-me-downs. He bought me a little navy blue polka dot dress with a Peter Pan collar and red alphabet buttons. But on picture day, I lost one of the buttons on the playground. I had a total meltdown because my brother spent his own money to make sure I had this new dress, and I ruined it. I was a mess, totally inconsolable. My teacher was also the mom of one of my brother's best friends. She told him, and he, my brother, and the entire football team searched the playground after practice for my lost button, which they actually found. My brother sewed the button back on himself in the car, all while trying to explain that he wouldn't have been mad even if I did lose it. It was just a button and a dress. But I did have one of those little red alphabet buttons sewn into my wedding dress. Guys? This is literally the first time I've seen this meme with the artist's signature not blurred or cropped. So I looked him up and learned that he is Genildo Ronchi, a 56-year-old Brazilian artist. He created this on his birthday in 2013 after changing his usual seat in his bus ride home and realizing he had a much nicer scenery to look at from the sunset-facing seat. Genildo said in an interview that he is happy to see his piece doing the rounds on the web, but adds, "The piece being turned into a meme is great for sharing my work, but it's important that you keep my signature." Oh my god, people's mental health is so bad they don't shower? Girl, some people have such bad mental health, they toaster bath themselves. My rule of thumb for this, for any behavior that you look at and go, "God, how can you not X?" is to ask myself, well, how bad would it have to be for me? How bad would it be before I would stop doing that thing? How bad would I have to feel? What would have to go wrong in your life? And how wrong would it have to go for you to stop bathing? To stop eating? To let the garbage pile around you until you can no longer see the floor? How bad would you have to feel, and for how long, before you would stand on the street screaming at anyone and anything, beating your fists on your head and crying? How bad would it need to be? Do you think there's some fundamental difference between you and people who suffer it until their lives are unrecognizable to you? Can you face the knowledge that if things went badly enough, you would be just like them? Just like them. Just like. I know I'm a bit late to saying this, But frankly, if I found out a secret society of magic users were just playing nonsense sports and making up slurs for the rest of us instead of helping us out with famines or leukemia, I think I'd apply for a job with my local witch hunters. In one of Harry and Hagrid's very first interactions, Harry asks the obvious question of, why is magic secret? And Hagrid's explanation is, because if people knew about magic, then they'd want magic solutions to their problems. Withholding help and letting people suffer is explicitly the reason they do this. I use Kermit as a model for the priesthood for several reasons. He wears a collar, visible. He's very reflective, prayerful. He gives good advice, verbal. He leads by example, does the right thing. And he's an overall great guy. I was trying to find out if Kermit was eligible to be Pope, and I found a blog that says he's the perfect example of a Catholic priest. What do you expect? He's a man of the cloth. Why were you trying to find out if Kermit was eligible to be a Catholic priest? Usual reasons. I know getting snarky one-liner dunks on racists is fun, but unfortunately, the whole, oh, so you can accept magic and dragons but black people are too unrealistic bit fundamentally misunderstands how fantasy as a genre is perceived. Like, it's a common occurrence for hobby world builders to map out tectonic plates for their setting that literally no one else will see. The melanin levels of populations based on global location and gene pool size are absolutely something some people are expecting to be taken into consideration. Not an excuse for racism, obviously. But stop acting like fantasy is another word for bullcrap. Portraying fantastical elements as if they were aspects of a real functioning world is one of the core appeals of the genre. Cake I made today that looks like an amnesiac's distant memory. Guys, stop saying it looks like a burger patty with cheese, broken heart emoji. I'm sorry, this is very silly, but is that a real cake/burger patty with cheese, or is it a 3D render of a cake/burger patty with cheese? It's cake! It's a tangible cake! Did you melt a craft single on a Danish? I mixed cake batter together and I put it in the oven, and I made a cake. I hope this helps. I've never seen death of the author applied to a baked good before, until now that is. This is the single greatest meme I have seen from any of my Facebook groups, and frankly, y'all need to step up your game. Am I trapped in a toxic sleep cycle? No, it's the birds who are wrong. So, update. Since I posted this, I became friends with the person who made it, and yesterday, I was like, I stole a meme from you that ended up getting like 90,000 notes on Tumblr, sorry, and she just shot back, it's all good, memes are communist and should be shared with the masses. And honestly, iconic. Gonna be honest, a lot of hot people go to art museums. I'm one of them. I'm too ugly, they won't let me in. That and my shirt that says, I eat oil paintings when security guards aren't looking. Listen, I understand this is a surreal joke, but like, I can't stop imagining what would happen if you actually showed up to a major art museum with that shirt. Like, not a tiny art museum. What would happen if you showed up to the Met Museum of Art wearing a shirt that said, I eat oil paintings when security guards aren't looking? They can't just ignore it. But like, are they gonna deny you entry over what is clearly a joke shirt? Do they have you watched? It's 2 a.m. and I need to... I still think about, during my last semester of undergrad, I took comparative religion as an elective, and this was during COVID and a bad wildfire season, so everybody around me was losing their jobs, homes, health, and one day, during Zoom class, someone explained the word yeet to my comparative religion professor as the opposite of yoink. And without any hesitation, she said, so the Lord eateth and the Lord yoinketh away. And when I tell you, that kept me going for at least a week. I hate the trope of, I refuse to hit women, gets decked, cause it's boring. But I do like the trope of someone in an RPG going, hey, I don't wanna hit a kid, that's kinda frigged up, and the kid just obliterates them. I refuse to hit a woman, sexist, overdone, does nothing to actually empower the woman or make the guy seem nice. I refuse to hit a kid, valid, even funnier when the kid whips absolute butt in one go. Avatar. Doing it right, yet again. I love how this doesn't have Toph's response, so it looks like he just saw Toph and was like, you know what? This kid deserves it. Which is honestly a little valid, because Toph radiates chaos. Man, This year is gonna be the year I either die or become someone else. I don't know which one. Maybe both. Every time I think of the future, I nearly throw up. It's going to be okay, but it's going to be different. Hate to say it, but the cow is right. Oh, plush cow, we're really in it now. I don't know why, but I find it even more comforting to look at it this way. It's going to be different, but it's going to be okay. The Encouragement Brothers. You know you frigged up when you go to a doctor and the thing you have wrong with you has been named after an occupation that isn't a thing anymore. Like, imagine a doctor looking at you and going, yeah, you've got ox-drawn plowman's disease. We don't even test for that anymore. Yeah, the reason you've never heard of it is because the last known case was in 1927 and happened to some guy who was like 98 years old and didn't believe in modern medicine of the time. What the frig have you been up to? I got diagnosed with gas station attendance disease. The thing about ADHD is that the lack of reward chemicals in your brain doesn't just mean that you don't want to do any tasks that don't feel particularly yummy, sad face. It means that your brain will look at chores and tasks that need to be done, like doing this would be painful and tedious for absolutely nothing to gain from it. Do not do that. The same thing that your brain tells you about everything else that would feel really bad and hurt the entire time that you're dying. The part of your brain that stops you from doing the thing is the same part that keeps you from shoving your arm into a wood chipper. With unmedicated, unmanaged ADHD, I have to do this assignment or I fail and my life will be ruined and I die feels like a saw trap every single time. Articles written by neurotypicals will be like, ADHD children find the external motivation of the saw traps is very effective. Here's how to build saw traps to maximize their productivity. When I was a kid, edgy alternative teens/tweens used to draw scary, gory, demented vent art, and it was literally fine, because it was just kids trying to act sick and twisted in like a quirky way to cope with the world, like literally just reading JTHM and going, that's so cool, I want to draw like that. But nowadays, a kid can't draw like a Nightmare Before Christmas-esque creepy face without a bunch of true crime girlies going, oh my god, they're literally the next Jeffrey Dahmer. Their parents need to put them under observation or something before they start murdering animals or something. Obsession with dark and violent things is a warning sign of being a future killer. Have you literally ever met an emo kid? They'll draw demons and ghouls bleeding out of every orifice and threatening each other with big knives, and then cry when they find a dead bunny in their yard. Love when you stop a cat from doing something and instead of understanding that they shouldn't be doing that, they're just like, oh, sorry, my good sir, you seem to have interrupted me. No worries, let me just shimmy past you and get a taste of that pan of hot oil, please. Ah, you have plopped me onto the floor. Happens all the time, my man. Pardon me while I hop back onto the counter that is covered in jalapenos. I still think the single funniest thing about the Cybertruck is that it has all those security cameras built in that are set to activate if anyone gets too close to the vehicle. And those cameras need electricity to run. And the Cybertruck is a piece of crap that has way less battery life than you'd think. So you can legit just frig over the owner by just standing near it and doing nothing else. Like goddamn elongated muskrat found a way to let us siphon gas out of a car without even touching it. Frigging incredible. Standing around a Cybertruck and pointing and laughing is indeed direct action. I don't think DoorDash support will ever top this. Have you received the food? It's in the road where he threw it as he passed my street. No, I don't have it. It's spread out across the road where he threw it. Although we encourage Dashers to wait a few minutes, we allow them to customize their own delivery experience. He sure customized the delivery experience. If you are sleepy, then you should go to sleep so you can then be not sleepy anymore and stop being sleepy because you will be sleeping. does this post rub anyone else the wrong way? Like, ignoring that OP kind of just assumes everyone has time / the means to sleep, rich, white, neurotypical, etc. Some poor people don't have beds, / the voices don't stop to let some of us sleep at night. It almost seems like, I don't know, demanding. Like, this sounds like something an abuser would say, lol. Like the way the OP doesn't really give you a choice, but just my thoughts. This actually is a perfect representation of 90% of the discourse on this site. I love the French. I love the way they pronounce R's like they're disgusted with them. The English, meanwhile, seem to have developed some sort of phobia about them. When we were discussing the surgery I'd need for my sleep apnea, the surgeon told me I'd never be able to speak French properly because the French R is a uvular sound, and I'd no longer have a uvula. That's okay? I'm not French? I don't speak French? I've always thought it was the weirdest thing for him to say. Huh, didn't know you could have French surgically removed. Sorry, I just cannot get this out of my head. Like, oh, you speak French? I hear there's an operation for that. The magic system is never fully explained. Yeah, that's how life works. Imagine having a story set in modern-day America, and the characters have several pages of exposition on combustion engines and telecommunication networks before we get to the plot. I think this is absolutely correct, and good writing advice, but also, Victor Hugo would like to have a word with you about the Parisian sewer system circa 1832. Victor Hugo would like to have many words with you about the Parisian sewer system circa 1831. Sometime in 1906, I was walking in the heat of the day through the bazaars, as I passed an Arab cafe, and idle wit, and no hostility to my straw hat, but desiring to shine before his friends, called out in Arabic, "God curse your father, O Englishman!" I was young then and quicker-tempered, and foolishly could not refrain from answering, in his own language, that I would also curse his father if he were in a position to inform me which of his mother's 92 admirers his father had been. I heard footsteps behind me and slightly picked up the pace, angry with myself for committing the sin of a row with Egyptians. In a few seconds, I felt a hand on each arm. "My brothers," said the original humorist, "return, I pray you, and drink with us coffee and smoke. I did not think that your worship knew Arabic, still less the correct Arabic abuse, and we would fain benefit further by your important thoughts." White boy shocks Egyptian by telling him to frig off in perfect Arabic. The Curse of the Pharaoh trope is born from modern Egyptology and not part of ancient Egyptian beliefs, but I think the pharaohs would really dig it. Frig yeah, I'm gonna curse whoever disturbs my afterlife. How friggin' dare they? This is a historical mischaracterization, but I think the figures I'm mischaracterizing would be into it is a really funny take actually. I support it. Shakespeare would probably be flattered by classist people thinking his plays are so good that a common-born person like him couldn't have possibly written them, and the real author must be an aristocrat. Shakespeare would be friggin' insufferable that millions of students have been forced to read and analyze his plays for centuries, and not even to debate if they're any good, but like write essays on the themes, in school, for grades. Shakespeare would be so friggin' smug about this, his Richard would explode. It's so sad that Nintendo didn't win anything at the Game Awards this year, because I love it when Doug Bowser goes up to the mic and says, "We at Nintendo are striving to make video games that can entertain 1 to 4 people and are currently available in stores for you to enjoy on the Nintendo Switch system." If Echoes of Zelda had won, he would have been like, "The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom game is a video game on the Nintendo Switch system in which players take control of Princess Zelda to save Hyrule from peril using various magics, and this is one of many thrilling games available for purchase now on the Nintendo Switch eShop, and you can play it with your controller." Indie horror games are either like, "You're on a submarine because you were sent to explore a mysterious pit in the ocean floor, and you slowly realize you weren't meant to resurface," or "Mr. Scrubkiss is gonna get you, don't let him get you," and Mr. Scrubkiss is the one everyone talks about. Also, Mr. Scrubkiss has an unreasonable amount of fan art smut. Well, it is a bit hard to elude the merciless concepts of the creeping knowledge of betrayal and the expendability of workers in a capitalist society. That's quitter talk, son. What did Pythagoras say about beans? Pythagoras, the vegetarian, did not only abstain from meat, he didn't eat beans either. This was because he believed that humans and beans were spawned from the same source, and he conducted a scientific experiment to prove it. The Death of Pythagoras, issue 78, Philosophy Now. Life back then must have been crazy. People just thought, whatever. The experiment was crushing a bean and saying it smelled like baby batter afterward, by the way. You can't be tired, chortles a middle-aged family friend. You're young! Really, I exclaim. I had no idea. My exhaustion lifts off my shoulders, the bags under my eyes disappear. I no longer need sleep due to my invigorating youth. I am free. I read middle-aged as middle-aged and was expecting a plague reference. Thou cannot have the Black Death, the doctor scoffs behind his mask. You are youthful! Marry, I exclaim. I had no idea. The fever lifts, mine own strength returns, the blackness fades from mine own skin. I am in perfect health due to mine own most wondrous youth. I am free. A British pensioner whose bland sandwiches gained him unexpected fame in China has died. Keith Brown, a retired engineer known on Chinese social media as Old Dry Keith, became a hit when his Chinese wife Zhang Jian began to post videos of him assembling the ham and cheese sandwiches he liked to eat. Chinese observers were grimly fascinated by his dry, boring sandwiches and his gentle, stoic manner, and he built up a cult following. We go from questioning the dry old man to understanding the dry old man to becoming the dry old man, observed one cultural commentator. The old man is us, and his dry lunch is our dry life. At the height of the trend, Chinese supermarkets even began providing dry shopping areas in which shoppers could purchase all the essentials for a Keith-style meal, including bread and baguettes. My mom says she's not a hugger. When I put my arms around her on a gloomy day or after bad news, she's the last to let go. My dad says he doesn't want gifts on his birthday, but I see the way his face lights up when I get him a card with a nice message and a box full of chocolate anyway. He's just a kid inside still, and makes him giddy. My brother never says I love you, but when I tell him I just need to finish the dishes before I vacuum, he wordlessly goes to vacuum the entire house before I can. And if he sees me struggle with a wrapper or a jar or a bottle, he mutters, "Come here," and opens it for me without even sparing me a glance. The thing is, people love you quietly, and you love them quietly, and the air is buzzing with tiny but grand gestures, and once you look for them, you find them everywhere. I think that's really beautiful. A party of adventurers that are all equally convinced that they are in completely different forms of media. The mage keeps giving smug glances in the direction they assume a camera is in. The fighter keeps getting indignant about missing attacks because of bad dice rolls. The rogue is doubtful that a villain is gone for good because nobody ever stays dead in comics. The paladin attributes fortune to good RNG. None of them have even considered that Tumblr post was an option. If you've never engaged with a creative art on a regular basis, you need to understand that it requires concerted effort to get into the groove to make something, and every second that it takes to get into that groove causes physical pain. But the only thing worse than doing it is not doing it. I want you to imagine that you have a button. That button is at the bottom of a pot of boiling water that also has piranhas and radium in it. If you press the button, you will receive the best climax of your life. But in order to press it, you have to first put your hand into radioactive boiling piranha water for at least 6 hours. This is what it's like to write. List of longest walks. Length: 15,509 miles, 24,959 kilometers. Date: April 1983 to April 1987. Details: Ohio 28-year-old Stephen Newman crossed 21 countries on a 4-year solo walk. His motive was a deep urge to find out if the world was really such a terrible place as everybody was saying. He concluded that it wasn't, even though he was arrested several times, attacked by bandits and a drunken construction worker, and had to fend off wild boars and other creatures. Mother friggers could just do anything in the 80s, and pulled up the ladder so you can't. There needs to be a cultural shift in America. Like, I'm not talking about culture war bullcrap. I mean, the average American needs to learn to care about their community and the rest of the world, and not be a self-absorbed butthead with a "frig you, I got mine" attitude. I doubt this will change. Good luck. Sorry. We simply cannot afford to be fatalistic about this. Go feed your neighbor and invite a friend to go with you. No offense, but if I exit out of a program, that program should close. None of that running in the background crap. If you kill something, it had better be dead. Telltale heart type nonsense. I closed the program, but I can still hear the sound of my fan blade spinning faster than normal. The program is still drawing power from my system. No, it must just be my imagination. I definitely closed it. He lives still beneath the floorboards. Background processes. Love when people become so online in spaces like this, where marginalized people are actually the ones dominating the conversations, that they forget what it's like in the real world and start making positivity posts for things that are literally 100% unchallenged and normalized in real life. Let men be masculine. Let men be friends with each other. Let women wear makeup. Let men and women date each other. Skinny white body positivity. Heart. Saw an absolutely hilarious Animal Crossing theory that I now 100% accept, and it's that in the Animal Crossing world, humans are going extinct, and so all the animals have locked you in an elaborate zoo enclosure and are trying to give you enrichment. And that's why they give you infinite pointless tasks, hide money in trees and rocks, invented debt that doesn't matter, etc. It's why they always act so happy to see you even after you raise the entire island, relocate their houses twice, and always act so pleased about your choices no matter what. It's all to keep their little endangered human healthy and enriched, and thinking of it this way has genuinely improved my experience of the game. Judas was probably like, Jesus has pulled off so many wacky things. He'll get out of this one lickety-split. And I get 3 shiny coins out of it too. Can't wait to see old oily Josh wriggle his way out of this jam. Jesus is nailed to a cross and dies. Well, nevertheless. I mean, he did also wriggle out. That was a pretty significant thing that happened. Like, I understand where you're coming from here, but he very much did wriggle out of it. Okay, funny post to use considering. How many eggs do you have in your fridge? This is exactly what I'm complaining about. So many people act like it's my job to do research for them when these questions are easily Googleable. ://. How many eggs are in my fridge? To count the number of eggs in your fridge, you can physically count them. I was going to edit this Google results page to say something funny, but honestly, I don't think I can outdo what I actually got. What's the worst offense Fandom has committed against your Blorbo? Constant misinterpretation. Popular headcanons so off base, it hurts. They stole once, and Fandom labeled them a hard criminal. They would not friggin' say that. The worst takes you've ever seen that completely miss the point of the character. Ignored. Popularly paired with the worst characters possible. Looted to hell and back. Reduced to one single trait. Unwarranted slander and hate. I explained the concept of Blorbo from my shows to my 71-year-old immigrant grandfather because I referenced it in passing, and I thought nothing of it until today when he said, "I think I'll watch Peaky Blinders tonight and see my Blorbo from my shows," referring, of course, to Cillian Murphy playing Tommy Shelby. English isn't his first language, so he's not super in touch with modern slang, so I've been accidentally teaching him to talk like a Tumblr user. His favorite thing to say lately is, "Me when I'm a little hater," when he's like talking crap about the neighbor's son. Join a union. Hear people constantly complaining that the current union leadership is super corrupt. It's all just the same 10 guys making all the decisions in secret, and nobody else in the union ever gets to know what's going on. Go to the monthly union meetings that are completely open to all 1,200 union members. The only attendees are the same 10 guys every month, giving detailed reports about everything that's going on. I went to my union meeting tonight, and the retirees' monthly complaint about our healthcare was that for some reason it only lets doctors prescribe 6 Viagra pills at a time, and they want to frig more than 6 times a month. That's verbatim. Think about what you could be missing by not going to your union meetings. Lol. I hate today's era of absolutely zero nuanced takes. A friend didn't behave exactly as you'd wanted them to, cut them off. A guy didn't text you back instantly because he has his own life? He's just giving you breadcrumbs. Doing something makes you uncomfortable? Don't do it anymore. Someone isn't instantly available for you? disinterest, just absolutist statements that often don't apply to the multi-layer situations of everyday life. Like, stop. Literally, just stop it. The least realistic thing about The Lord of the Rings is that a team got together for a group project, decided everything in one meeting, and their plan worked. The group abandoned the original plan halfway up Caradhras, split up several times, some group members started looking into different projects, found new partners, and ended up doing something else. The original plan was abandoned early on, and the project was salvaged at the last moment by the one group member that didn't get sidetracked. Sounds like a pretty astute description of teamwork to me. One of them also died. If the Satanic Panic was happening now, a lot of you guys would be like, DNI if you don't believe survivors of satanic ritual abuse at daycare have already been accused of being a fascist for making this post. I dare you to explain what Satanic Panic is supposed to symbolize here. Did you refrain from saying Red Scare, or especially War on Drugs, because you knew if you said that, people would stop for a minute and consider before reblogging this nonsense post mindlessly? Or is this about survivors of violence, or non-consensual coitus? Or just what the frig is this about? Have you considered Googling Satanic Panic? Sometimes, if you look up words you don't know, you can find out what they mean. Had the funniest experience earlier of my Swiftie coworker putting the new White Girl Breakup Songs trademark album on the speaker at work. And the moment she left the room long enough for her phone to disconnect from Bluetooth, our older coworker immediately put on 10 hours of relaxing Tibetan flute music instead, and we all collectively sighed in relief. Warding spell against Taylor Swift. 8 hours Tibetan flute, healing music, deep relaxation. So you're at the party, right? And there's this girl in the corner with another girl on a leash with the puppet ears on, standard stuff. And you start talking to her, and she introduces the girl on the leash and says, "This is my little puppy Emily, say hi Emily." And the leash girl does a little bark at you, and you say, "Oh, that's nice." And you're looking for a way to avoid the awkward silence during a 4-second period that feels like a half hour. So you ask, does she know any tricks? So the girl says, "Come on girl, show 'em." And the puppy girl gets up, pulls out a skateboard, and starts doing the sickest kickflips you ever saw. About 7.5 years ago, I was #canceled for making essentially the same post as OP. Dude, human pet guy, sir, I don't think you are making the same post as OP. Life advice for your teens and early 20s, and probably beyond, but I haven't made it much farther than that so far. Go out by yourself. Learn how to navigate public transit with no smartphone. Take online classes. Make peace with disappointing your parents. Go to therapy if possible. Follow aftercare instructions for new tattoos and piercings. Eat a meal before drinking. Don't mix drugs. It's hard to be yourself when you don't know yourself, so just keep trying new things. Throw everything at the wall like spaghetti to see what sticks. You will discover yourself the same way you discover new coffee shops and new bands. You will get there. Don't make a long post in all caps because your voice will start to hurt from shouting. A sliding scale of posts about Jesus being a carpenter who was nailed to a cross. Do you guys think Jesus, the son of a carpenter, smelt the wood of the cross and temporarily thought of home? Oh my god! Found this in my drafts from November, but like, for real. Jesus was a carpenter, which means for a split second when they handed him his cross, he probably clocked it and was like, cedar. Jesus was kind of Danganronpa executed since he was a carpenter who was nailed to a board. Skyrim is a bad game because I can't hug my friends or my husband. Maybe I want to let the people in my life know I appreciate them dearly, even if they just have 3 lines of base dialogue. And before one of you says something like, "Oh, why don't you just play Stardew Valley or Animal Crossing or some other game where you get to be nice to people?" Please understand that I enjoy hunting the city guards for sport, but that doesn't mean that I'm not full of love. My only advice is to be careful posting about holiday traditions around Europeans. You'll post something casual like, "Anyone else watch the old Grinch movie every year? What a classic!" And a European will appear as if summoned and say some crap like,
funny how US Americans always conveniently forget that not everyone on Earth is from the USA. No, of course we don't watch The Grunch, or whatever the frig that is. Our tradition is to attend a community showing of Glumdorf, the racial stereotype. All I want is mutuals that reblog my posts and talk to me and call me by my first name.
You mean like your friends, Jack? My what now? The people who help you do this kind of dumb crap. Would anyone like to help me make a humorous Tumblr post? What's the post? Me. All I want in life is mutuals that reblog my posts and address me by my first name. You mean like your friends, Jack? Me. My what now? Sure. Jimmy, this wasn't part of the agreement. Top 10 anime betrayals. Why's combat and military gear always gotta look so friggin' cool when the people wearing them just objectively aren't? That's unfair. This goes for like all of time. Knights are serving the king? The friggin' king? You can't serve hoo-ha and the government at the same time. Come on now, pick the right side. I know you have it in you. Jesus said this, Matthew 6:24. No one can serve two masters. Either you will hate the one and love the other, or you will be devoted to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and money. Jesus said this. This may just be me going into over-analysis mode, but I feel like the choreography of spellcasting can tell you so much about a magic user. A snap of the fingers, for example, implies confidence, even arrogance, while hands thrust out and straining to the fingertips suggests desperation. Throwing one's whole body into the spell is though hoping the physical effort will make a difference. Rapid, jerky body language tells you that a spellcaster is passionate and reckless, while graceful, fluid movements demonstrate calm and concentration. Some magic users may choose to stomp their feet or clap their hands when casting, channeling power through percussive motion, whilst others may see magic as a tool separate from the self, and focus it through objects like a wand or staff. A new spellcaster just coming into their power may be tentative and slow, but a practiced study of magic will be able to rely on muscle memory to guide them. If you told Vin Diesel, Fast and the Furious, you were gay, he'd be like, some people like driving stick, some people like driving automatic. What matters is you cross the finish line. And then he'd rev up a Dodge Challenger and drive through a building and kill 16 people. He literally did in the fourth one when he's asked if he likes cars more than women. I'm one of those boys who appreciates a fine body, regardless of the make. If you asked if he was cool with trans people, he'd probably say, sometimes aftermarket parts are the only way to get the vehicle you really want. Everyone should have the right to hot rod. Tragic news. Like, half the ways people talk about magic in fiction could IRL be applied to maths. Magic is the threads that tie the world together, the unspoken web at the heart of the universe. That's mathematics, baby! You ever think about how, when you gauge if it's safe to cross the road based off how fast and far away the cars are, you're actually doing difficult calculus subconsciously? Almost like maths is something you have an inherent understanding of in many ways, but in order to advance in it and truly understand it, you have to learn it in an academic setting. Almost like many magic systems? Unrelatedly, people are always like, Lamau, what was Supernatural doing in Super Hulock? And I've said that myself in the past, but actually no. What was Sherlock doing in Super Hulock? Like, I know the answer is queerbait, but also like, Supernatural and Doctor Who as sprawling sci-fi behemoths lasting longer than is plausible, deliberately veering into ridiculousness, featuring a heroes breeze into town Monster of the Week format, and universe-level stakes, and a whole lot of speculative what if sandbox shows cultural curiosities. Sherlock is nothing. She's dust. Britishness does not a similarity make. So what I'm hearing is Super Who stuck. Words that immediately knock me out cold. Wizard College is going to kill me, I swear to God. I just saw someone without a component satchel reach into their pocket and pull out a handful of loose tapioca to use as a substitute for blood in their fell ritual. And it worked! I've never been so friggin' mad. OP's URL. What the frig's an orc doing in Wizard College? Experiencing microaggressions, apparently. Honestly, more curious about a boxer in wizard school, regardless of race/species. Athletic scholarship. Must a fictional relationship be healthy or functional? Is it not enough to simply watch two made-up people destroy each other hand in unlovable hand? Hey, what the frig is wrong with you people? I don't know, what is wrong with me? I'm in a healthy and stable relationship with a great partner. I've had lots of therapy that has helped me establish strong boundaries and recognize red flags. And I have an active social life and fulfilling career. Could it be that I just like to read books and watch movies and TV shows about dysfunctional people? You tell me, Tumblr user girl creator. You're a bourgeois degenerate who wants to see crappy, despicable, and violent relationships for your disgusting sense of entertainment, and you should feel friggin' ashamed of yourself. I agree with @GirlCreator, but I definitely know there's something wrong with you. People like you are a huge red flag to me. Bad vibes, for sure. Can you weirdos just smoke some friggin' devil's lettuce? Shakespeare frantically rewriting Macbeth's marriage to be healthy and adjusted because no one will ever want to watch the original. Slow train journeys in rural England sure are an experience. You're going 10 miles, and it takes a day and a half because it stops at every lamppost. And the announcement says, the next station stop is Hurley, or something, and you think, I didn't know that was a place, and you get there, and it isn't. Trains will announce you're stopping in places you never knew existed. And when it gets dark and you're a little disorientated, they like to slip in a couple that really didn't exist before. English trains will make up a stop to get delayed at. And is this train doing 0 minutes in the station with us right now? Hey dude, I noticed you attempting to carve a small space for joy in the face of overwhelming sadness. Kind of problematic, considering all the horrors. How it feels to be online these days. It feels as if there is so little respect for joy. We give misery and rage space, we give space for disgust and lust and fear, and sometimes we need to, but I wish we accepted that joy needs space too. Hey dude, I noticed you attempting to carve a small space for joy in the face of overwhelming sadness. Have you considered monetizing it? Laptops are always so much more frigged than phones, in my experience. A laptop is like a beautiful horse that wants nothing more than to break all of its legs. A decently solid Android phone will act normal. A laptop is a living creature. It has weight to it. A laptop breathes and produces body heat, and it wants to die. Badly. Mobile phones are not sentient like that, and that's why they don't experience mental illness. A phone problem is like out of storage, sad face, or charging port broke. Laptops will cough weakly as they fade in and out of consciousness. You will hold a laptop in your arms, and it's like, I can't feel my legs. And you tell it, girl, you never had any. Seriously though, why do wizards celebrate Christmas other than J.K. Rowling is Christian? What reason do literal wizards have to celebrate a muggle god whose miracles are mostly within the limits of what wizards can normally do anyway? I love that the responses on this post basically boil down to 1. It's fun, 2. Muggleborns, and my personal favorite, 3. Jesus was a wizard. I was bleeding out in the snow, and it was all cool and stuff, until like a bunch of teenagers showed up, and then it got really cringe. So I put all the blood back and went to go bleed out somewhere else, but all the good bleed out places were taken. So I decided just to die like a natural, peaceful death, like overlooking the cliffside, but lo and behold, somebody's already friggin' dying there against a tree, and it looks way sicker than what I had planned. I guess I'll just friggin' live. If you spend your whole life whining and complaining about the fact people are expected to engage in the dreaded, pointless, banal small talk, instead of learning to trade pleasantries with the people around you, you will never know the true and heady joy of doing a dumb bit with a complete stranger, and as a result, your soul will remain small. My favorite bit is when I wear my wrist braces in public, and someone asks if I got hurt, and I tell them something patently insane. I got into a kung fu battle with the local Canada Geese Insane, and realizing that we are playing a game, they will yes and me. Oh yeah, they've been taking lessons from the squirrels. They nod, and within 2 minutes, the lady cutting my fabric at the quilt store and I have a whole bit about the urban animals all being in a rival dojo. The grandma behind me chimes in that the fat raccoons under her porch must be doing sumo. Listen, I'm having fun playing with the ultra-patriotic voice, but after a couple years in blue-collar landscaping jobs, you really do need to phrase things like that. I'm pretty sure that fella ain't here legally. Well, that ain't your business, Chip. It's his. They hate being preached to. If you pull out words like gender wage gap, they'll tell you you're brainwashed by the far left media. He's one of them transgenders. He got freedoms too, Jimmy. What super expensive indulgence would you get for yourself if you suddenly came into a bunch of money? Assume all bills/mortgages paid, all friends helped. What treat are you buying just for you? For me, it would be a quilted lambskin Chanel bag in iridescent pink. I'd straight up buy a plot of land to put a quaint little house on. That. My own bedroom. A friggin' house, skull emoji. Super fancy high-end gaming desktop, and a whole room to house it. Does buying my own friggin' house count? Secret room, secret room, secret rooms. The collective desire to have a space to yourself. 10 years of anti-drug campaigns in schools did not convince me not to drink or do Zaza, but one singular bad high has made me so scared of ever doing anything again. So I think that in 7th grade health class, schools should gather all the kids and give them all edibles, and then have them watch top 10 scariest SCP videos so they'll never do drugs again. This is a flawless idea. Dare if the MK Ultra guys designed it. When I was in the hospital, they gave me a big bracelet that said allergy, but like I'm allergic to bees. Were they going to prescribe me bees in there? This might sting a little. So there's a medication called hyaluronidase. It's used to make other medications absorb better because it makes the cell wall more permeable. One common usage is to make local anesthetic more effective during surgery, for instance. It's used in a number of injected medications. Bee stings contain an enzyme very similar to this medication, so sometimes people with bee allergies have an allergic reaction to hyaluronidase. This is called cross-reactivity, where your body mistakes something for the thing it's actually allergic to, and also has an allergic reaction anyway. For instance, sometimes people with latex allergies also are allergic to bananas and other fruit. They don't actually contain latex, but there are some similar proteins. Apparently, hyaluronidase used in humans is derived from one of 4 sources: sheep testicles, cow testicles again, and GMO hamster ovaries. TLDR, they won't inject you with bees, but they might inject you with purified cow testicle juice, and your body might say, cow balls are basically bees, and try to kill you anyway. The world is full of such beauty and wonder. Thank you for that sentence. Why are people pretending that coitus is the only axis upon which some people willingly enjoy things that hurt/scare them? BDSM is evil and irrational, and nobody is actually into it. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go eat sour candy advertised on the basis that it will hurt my mouth, plus get on a roller coaster to activate my flight or fight response, plus read a tragedy that makes me cry, plus watch a horror movie that will scare me, plus participate in combat sports for fun and entertainment. I step into the crime scene once again, and just like last time, it's a mess. The scoundrel killed again. They call him the artist. Man's sick in the head. Thinks he's gonna be the next Michelangelo. His canvas? The human body. Maybe I'm just not cultured enough, but when I look at this mess of gore and body parts, all I see is, wait, holy crap! From this angle, it looks like a fish! Oh, it's like a perspective trick. Oh crap, that's so cool. I mean, it's not cool enough to justify murdering 12 innocent. Oh my god! From this angle, it looks like a monkey. It's like 2 in 1. How to even do that? This guy's a genius. Tried to vent in a trans space about how, as a trans man who's been on T for a long time, over 7 years now, I have noticed that the more I pass as a man, the less welcomed I am in queer spaces unless I go out of my way to feminize myself, and how that sucks, and it's isolating, and it feels horrible to see people who used to like you and be close to you drift further and further the more masculine and therefore more comfortable in yourself you become. Only to get people replying to me and saying, well, if you dressed more femme, then people wouldn't be intimidated by you. You signed up for this. I'm sorry, but I didn't sign up for social isolation when I transitioned. I signed up for gender euphoria and comfort in myself and my life. And I had hoped that the people in my life would be able to see how much joy that brings me and continue to love me. I am on my knees, tears running down my face, knuckles raw and bleeding, and begging people to learn the difference between sentient and sapient.
All animals are already sentient. Sentience is base level consciousness and ability to perceive. Sapient is human level intelligence. Any cartoon animals or whatever that talk are sapient. Describing them as sentient may not be wrong, but it doesn't mean anything because animals already are sentient. You mean they are sapient. Please, I am begging you. The epidemic of grown adults playing TikToks at full volume in public is rampant. Why are you acting like a 7-year-old with their first iPad? You have a mortgage. Because life sucks and we're regressing, hee hee. Plug in some damn headphones before I regress into a caveman and smash your phone with a rock.
I'm allowed to be inconsiderate because my life sucks.
I don't think that's the case. Parent cats are crazy
Because they have the protectiveness of a parent. But at the end of the day, they're still just cats. Your mama plays with toy mouse and feather on stick. You know how cats trick you into petting their belly, then attack with their hind legs? I saw a mother cat do that to her baby when it tried to nurse once. Launched the poor scoundrel like 3 feet across the room. You know, there actually is a meaningful difference between men's and women's deodorant beyond the selection of scents. Men's plays better with pit hair and doesn't pill up in it, and women's tends to have a more powdery finish to help prevent chafing. So really, the two genders are actually hairy and bald. Realizing this was such a paradigm shift for me, and I have to wonder what other uselessly gendered products are like this, where they actually are different in a way that would be useful to consumers, but some marketing department decide instead of just saying what the difference is, to prescribe which you need based on the most arbitrary metric, so nebulous that what it even means varies from person to person, as if they think you're too dumb to look at anti-chafing powder formula and lightweight gel formula and decide for yourself which one would work best.